It really feels like every day there's a brand new ed tech tool or platform or app
Right.
promising to revolutionize the way we teach and learn.
Yeah,
It
right.
can be so overwhelming.
Absolutely. It can be a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, so in this deep dive, we're going to cut through some of that noise, and we're going to focus in on AI-powered podcasting tools designed specifically for education.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, so specifically, we're going to look at Notebook LM by Google and Brisk Teaching.
Two really powerful tools in this space.
Yeah, and they both have a lot of different strengths and different approaches.
Yeah, I think for you, the learner, whether you're a teacher or a curriculum developer, it's important to understand
Yeah,
that just because AI can now turn text to speech doesn't mean all these tools are the same.
exactly.
And so that's why this deep dive is going to be so valuable to you.
We're going to do a side-by-side comparison of Notebook LM and Brisk Teaching. We're going to really break down the core differences between them, how you can actually use them in your classroom, and really highlight the advantages and disadvantages of each.
So you can decide which is best for you.
Exactly. So let's get started by thinking about where these tools come from, or what are the foundational concepts behind them?
So Notebook LM, as a Google product, has this really powerful AI engine under the hood. It's built on Google's latest and greatest AI called Gemini, which is able to analyze and synthesize information in really sophisticated ways.
Okay.
And what's really interesting for you is that it uses something called source-grounded AI.
Okay, so what does that mean for me as the learner?
Basically, when Notebook LM is telling you something based on some documents you've uploaded, it's only pulling information from those documents.
Okay.
So you can be confident that it's not making things up or hallucinating like some AIs are prone to do.
Ah, interesting. So it's kind of like almost fact-checking itself against what you've given it.
Exactly. It ensures a really high level of accuracy by sticking to the sources that you've given it. Now, Brisk Teaching takes a little bit of a different approach and prioritizes simplicity and user-friendliness for the educator. It's actually a Chrome extension, so it's really easy to access, and it offers these ready-made templates
Oh,
created by teachers for teachers, so they're really tailored for the classroom.
that's a really good point, because I know a lot of teachers feel like a lot of these tools are made by people who've never been in a classroom.
Totally. And so, Brisk Teaching kind of sidesteps that a bit.
Okay, cool.
By offering these templates, and also the fact that it's a Chrome extension means that it integrates really directly with a lot of the online materials that you're probably already using.
Right, okay.
So whether it's web pages or Google Docs or your own notes, it can turn all that stuff into audio really easily.
So Brisk Teaching is all about accessibility, and Notebook LM is kind of this powerhouse AI
Right.
that's really focused on accuracy.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Like, what can these tools actually do, and what is it like to actually use them?
Okay, so with Notebook LM, it's not just about turning text into speech. It can actually do a lot more. You can upload documents, and it will summarize the content for you. It can generate questions to help students think critically about the material.
Wow.
It can even give you explanations of really complex topics.
Uh-huh.
But what I think is really relevant for us today is the audio overview feature.
Okay, tell me about that.
Basically, this feature uses AI to create conversational summaries of your documents.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost like you've got two knowledgeable AI hosts discussing the key points.
So you could take like a dense research paper, and then it'd be like having this conversation, summarizing it for you.
That's exactly right.
That's really cool. And you can imagine how that could be really useful for students to like listen to that and kind of get a better grasp on things.
Exactly, and it makes it so much more digestible.
Okay, awesome. What about Brisk Teaching? What can it do?
So Brisk Teaching really focuses on converting content you're already using into audio. So things like web pages, Google Docs, your own notes, all that can get turned into audio.
Okay.
And the way they do that is through their new podcast feature. So you can create podcasts of different lengths depending on your subscription. On the free plan, it's up to 2 minutes.
Okay.
If you pay for a teacher account, you get up to 5 minutes. And with a school license, you can go up to 10 minutes.
Okay, so it's kind of a tiered system.
Exactly. So there's different levels of access depending on your needs.
Makes sense.
And I should also mention that they have preset AI presenters, Ethan and Maya.
Okay.
They're the voices of the podcast.
So even if you don't customize the voice yourself, you still get this consistent audio experience.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Now, when you think about the user experience, Notebook LM, because it's integrated with Google Workspace,
Yeah.
it's going to be a really seamless experience if you're already using Google's suite of tools.
Makes sense.
But because it's so powerful,
Yeah.
it might have a slightly steeper learning curve.
Right, if you're not already familiar with all that.
Especially if you're not that comfortable with AI.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a little bit more power, a little bit more to learn.
Yeah. What about brisk teaching?
Brisk teaching really excels in its simplicity. It's really user-friendly.
Yeah.
You know, it's designed to minimize any kind of stress or anxiety you might have about using technology.
Yeah.
So you can quickly turn your content into audio without having to spend hours learning a new platform.
Makes sense. So we've got Notebook LM, which is powerful, but maybe a little bit more complex, and brisk teaching, which is simple and easy to use.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at some of the advantages and limitations of each platform.
Okay.
Starting with Notebook LM.
Okay, so some of the advantages of Notebook LM are that the AI is really advanced. So it can analyze really complex documents and pull out these nuanced insights.
Okay.
The integration with Google Workspace is another major advantage,
Right.
especially for institutions that are already using that suite of tools.
Yeah.
And then, as we talked about, the source-grounded AI
Yeah.
ensures really high levels of accuracy.
So you can trust the information.
Okay, cool. But what are some of the downsides or some of the things to look out for with Notebook LM?
One potential limitation is that the customization options are a bit more rigid.
Okay.
The AI is really powerful, but you have a little bit less control over the final output compared to brisk teaching.
Gotcha.
And as we mentioned, there might be a bit of a learning curve to get up to speed.
Okay, makes sense. Now, what about brisk teaching? What are some of the advantages there?
Okay, so some of the key advantages of brisk teaching are that it's super user-friendly,
Yeah, we talked about that.
really accessible, even if you're not a tech expert.
Right.
It's really creative and flexible. There's all these templates you can use.
Yeah.
And you can customize the output in lots of different ways.
Okay.
And then finally, it has these really cool collaborative features. So you can work on projects with other teachers.
Or even students.
Or even students, exactly.
Okay, cool. But where might it fall short compared to Notebook LM?
Well, because it prioritizes simplicity, it might not be as effective for really large or technical documents.
Okay.
Compared to Notebook LM's more advanced AI.
Right.
And while the templates and the manual input offer a lot of flexibility, it might actually take you more time to produce a podcast with brisk teaching.
Compared to Notebook LM.
Right.
Which would just kind of do it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
We also got some feedback from John Dolman, who's an English teacher, and he said that while the audio quality from brisk teaching isn't as impressive as Notebook LM's, he actually prefers the podcast feature for brisk teaching.
Really, why is that?
Because it gives him more options to personalize the content for different grade levels.
Okay.
So even though the audio isn't as crisp or clear,
Yeah.
he finds that being able to tailor the content to his students' needs is more valuable.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah. It really depends what you're prioritizing.
Right.
Okay, cool. So now let's look at some concrete examples of how you can actually use these tools in the classroom.
Okay, so with Notebook LM, it seems like it's really well suited for working with academic materials. So things like research papers or textbook chapters.
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it can turn those into concise audio summaries that students can listen to on the go.
And that'd be great, too, if you have students who have, like, maybe some reading challenges or if they just prefer to listen to information.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the other really nice feature for you as a teacher is that it can automatically generate questions and tests.
Oh, that's really handy.
Yeah. So you can save a lot of time on lesson planning.
Okay, awesome. What about brisk teaching?
So with brisk teaching, you can create these really interactive audio lessons for your classroom. Imagine your students working on a project and using brisk teaching to produce an audio component.
Oh, cool.
To share their findings.
That would be awesome. And I bet students would be way more engaged doing that than, like, writing a paper.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What else?
It's also really good for enhancing accessibility. So you can easily provide audio versions of learning materials for students who might benefit from that.
Right. Okay.
You know, maybe they have visual impairments or they just learn better by listening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's a really powerful use case.
Okay, cool. We also came across a really interesting experiment by Joe Dale, who's a language consultant in the UK, and he actually used Notebook LM to create an AI-generated conversation
Oh, wow.
between two characters about brisk teaching.
That's really meta.
Yeah, and it was all based on, like, an article about podcasting.
Wow.
So it really shows you the power and the versatility of these tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Dan Kreines had a cool example, too.
Okay.
He used brisk teaching to generate a podcast about the history of Norwalk, Connecticut, directly from an article.
Okay.
And he was highlighting how you can customize the language You can align it with different educational standards. You can adjust the length and the grade level.
So really tailor it to your students.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways you can use these tools.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about pricing and accessibility,
Okay.
because that's obviously a big consideration for educators.
So Notebook LM is a Google product.
Yep.
And it's usually part of their existing ecosystem.
Okay.
So if your school already has Google Workspace, or if you have a Google One premium subscription, you might already have access to it.
Makes sense.
Or it might be a really affordable add-on.
Okay, cool. What about Brisk Teaching?
Brisk Teaching uses a freemium model.
Okay.
So there's a free version where you can create podcasts up to 2 minutes long. And then they have a paid teacher subscription that gives you up to 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then finally a school license, which can go up to 10 minutes.
Okay.
And that might include some other features for you and your colleagues.
So it's kind of a tiered system again.
Right.
Okay, cool. So let's wrap things up with some key takeaways for our listeners.
Okay.
So which tool is better? Notebook LM or Brisk Teaching?
Well, it really depends on your specific needs and your teaching style.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking to automate the analysis of complex documents,
Right.
if you're looking to get really in-depth insights,
Yeah.
and you want to have it all integrated seamlessly with your Google tools, then Notebook LM is probably the way to go.
Exactly.
Okay. But if you're looking for something that's more collaborative, if you want something that's more flexible,
Oh,
and you want to be able to quickly create audio content
yeah.
that's tailored to different grade levels, then maybe Brisk Teaching is better for you.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that's really important to keep in mind with Notebook LM is that all of its insights are based on the sources that you upload.
Right.
It's not going to give you a broader perspective or an objective view beyond the material that you've given it.
That's a really important point.
Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind with any AI tool, really.
Absolutely.
Now, both of these tools are constantly being updated and improved.
Yeah. It's a really exciting time.
But it's also worth mentioning some of the limitations.
Right.
So Notebook LM, for example, the AI voices currently only speak English.
Yeah. That's something to be aware of.
And there's always a chance of minor inaccuracies.
With any AI.
Right, and you also can't interrupt the AI hosts while they're giving their conversational summaries.
Okay.
Now, with Brisk Teaching, the audio quality might not be as refined as Notebook LM.
Right.
But it's really easy to use.
Yeah.
And it integrates directly with your browser.
Yeah, so you can quickly turn any website into an audio summary.
Which is really cool.
It is.
So we're really seeing the emergence of all these new tools that are making it easier and easier to create educational audio content.
Yeah, the barriers are coming down.
And that's really exciting.
It is.
Because it opens up so many possibilities for personalized learning.
Right.
And catering to all these different learning styles.
Exactly.
So we encourage you to try out both of these platforms.
Yeah, play around with them.
See what works for you.
See what fits your teaching style.
And see what resonates with your students.
That's the best way to learn.
Here's a final thought.
Okay.
As these AI-powered tools get more and more sophisticated, how is that going to change the way we think about learning? How can we use these tools to create truly personalized learning experiences for every student?
Yeah, it's a really exciting question.
And it's something that we're just starting to explore.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.